And I'm going to maybe tell you a little bit more, I think, in a story format about the impact that we're having and how we're changing what we're doing. So a few months ago here, students participated in a career expo at Agribition. So this student stood at a welding station for the first time. They'd never tried welding before. They didn't know if they would be any good at welding. And after the session, they said, I felt proud of myself. I want to go into welding because I like to do things I enjoy. Moments like this matter. But it's not really about the welding because just a few steps away, another student was controlling a robot through a simulated farm. Another student was testing blood in the veterinary station. Another one was experimenting with food science. Another student was extracting DNA. Different experiences, different interests, but the same outcome, that students were starting to see themselves in something that they had never considered before. But that moment doesn't just start in high school, it starts much earlier. It starts with the students who are planting seeds in the classroom, watching it grow, beginning to understand where their food comes from. It starts with trying a new food for the first time, asking questions, students making connections. Really, it starts with this curiosity. And so what's happening though underneath that curiosity is that there's a growth in what students, there's a shift. So before our events, we're starting to ask teachers where students are at the beginning. We're asking students where their knowledge are. If we're lucky, that students will say that food comes from a farm. Often they'll just tell us that it comes from the grocery store, maybe DoorDash, comes from their mom's kitchen. But after our programs, when we ask the teachers, when we ask the students, we start to see the change because not only do all students know that food now comes from a farm, they start to understand that it's part of a connected system, that food, science, technology, people, decisions are all working together in this complex system called agriculture, and that agriculture is actually impacting their daily life. Because by the time the student gets to the age where they're standing at that welding station or exploring robotics or veterinary science, they're not starting from zero. They've already been on part of this journey, starting with the curiosity where they've asked questions, where they've started to understand about agriculture and modern agriculture practices. Importantly, they've started to build that connection to the food that they're eating, to their daily lives, to the communities, to the world around them. And then they're starting to get confidence. And what I mean by that is they're starting to see that they can have a place in agriculture. And that is the impact that we are building across the grades. And we're starting to measure it. So for example, before the ThinkAg Career Expo, only 11% of the students said that they were very aware of careers in agriculture. That tripled by the end of the event when 34% said that they were very aware of careers in agriculture. And even more than that, 57% of the students at that career expos said that they would actually consider a career in agriculture, not just welding, in trades, technology, science, food, business, agronomy. The activities that we're doing are actually helping students to shift their mindset and really consider a career in agriculture. But when we asked students what stood out the most, yep, some talked about welding. They also talked about robotics, veterinary science, agronomy, food science. They really talked about the hands-on learning. And what we're hearing, what they're telling us, is that students, they don't just want to learn, they really want to experience. And this is absolutely in line with what teachers are telling us. 100% of the teachers said that they would bring their students back to the Career Expo. 95% rated the expo excellent. The other 5% rated it good. So that's amazing. But really, the powerful feedback comes when teachers tell us the students, they weren't ready to leave. The hands-on learning experience, it's something students crave. It felt like they learned more in a class than they would in a classroom with books. And this is what engagement looks like. But the impact isn't just on the students, it's also on the teachers. 100% of the teachers said that their own understanding increased, and 100% of them said that they were going to take back that learning and bring more ag education into their classroom. What does that mean? It means that students are being reached earlier, more often, and more meaningfully. And that's how one single experience can actually reach hundreds more students. So we can show this change now, not just what we do, but what it leads to. Because for years we've had the stories. I have been here for 20 years. I've got the stories. I know the experience. I'm like, this is what's happening. And where we're shifting to is the proof in that, so that we can show that awareness is increasing, perspectives are shifting, connections are building, and these future possibilities, they're really opening up. Because if we can measure the impact, we can grow the impact. And that is the trajectory that we are on through all of the background work that we're doing with our impact framework and the shift in how we're evaluating. It's why strategically we've decided we want to deepen this impact. We're now able to start measuring it. And when we say grow, it's like Dean said, we want to ultimately at some point be in all of the classrooms, but right now over the next 3 years, intentionally, we are trying to grow that impact and deepen that reach among a smaller number of students.